start with one topic, but we just see where we end up. You know, it's basically the game of telephone. This is Tangent Telephone. Wait, how did we end up here?
Hi, my dudes. Welcome to the first official episode of Tangent Telephone. Wow, I feel like because there's a camera, I feel like I am able to take a pause and think about what I'm going to say, and then I remember, no. This is a podcast, bitch. As you can see, my setup is like so professional right now. Ignore this for the moment. I do have my little bling mic down here, and it's not the mic that I want to be using for my podcast, but I cannot find my Rode mics. So the setup is going to be changing. First, let me explain to you what the title of this podcast means. I don't know if I need to be like crouching down so that I look a little bit crazy, but we're just going to rely on my microphone. Let me explain to you the title of this podcast and what this podcast is going to be about, okay? Every episode is going to start off with a topic, or there's just a bunch like questions, topics, whatever, in my little phone booth, okay? Yeah, this is obviously a phone booth that I personally made, and it will be getting upgraded, okay? I wanted to film, okay, let's just side note really quickly. I wanted to film a few episodes of this podcast before I move, and I'm going to have a room in my house that's actually going to be a studio, but this podcast idea was birthed in this house that I'm currently living in and that I've lived in for 2.5 years. And so I want to film a few episodes here before I move, and I've actually been trying. I've literally had it on my to-do list, like, just do a podcast episode. But I get so starting something and like having to, I don't know. It doesn't matter. That's the beauty of this podcast, is that it doesn't matter. So anyway, back to my little pink phone booth. Also, how cute is this phone? Tangent. It's a Tangent Telephone hotline. Oh my gosh, I'm absolutely gonna have to set up a phone number where people can call in. Anyway, I digress. And that's the beauty of this podcast, which I still haven't explained to you yet. I'm gonna pick a topic from this phone booth. I didn't create these topics. I had my producer, who's not my producer, he's not even here right now, just come up with a bunch of random topics or things that also he knows that I'm interested in, so that I have something to talk about. But it's not just that, okay? Tangent Telephone. The fuck does that mean? It starts with the topic, and I'm just gonna let my tangents go wild and see where I end up, because, well, first of all, you know the game Telephone, right? Where you like whisper a word into someone's ear and it gets blah, 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 blah. It's that, but it's not, because I'm speaking into a microphone and talking about a lot of random shit. But as soon as I feel like the episode's over, I'm done talking, you know, I'm not gonna have a set time for these episodes. Some of them might be shorter, some of them might be super long. That's another one of the things that I just don't want to have like rules, because otherwise I won't do it. See, I'm already getting off topic. But at the end, we will see which topic I end up on, and then we'll take the first topic and see what I ended up with, just to see like what a strange journey that we had. And I'll probably make that the title of the podcast. So for example, if I pull this out and it says orange cats, it's not going to say that. I don't know why I chose that example, but if it says orange cats, and then by the end of the episode I'm talking about vasectomies, the podcast will probably be titled From Orange Cats to Vasectomies, or something like that. Okay, I haven't really figured the logistics out yet. Speaking of cats, my cat is about to jump up here. Please do not fuck up my setup. Basically, the way that I landed on this theme of this podcast, which is kind of an anti-theme. What are you doing? You can't see her, but she's looking at this phone and doing something really weird. I have tried to have podcasts before. To be fair, the last one that I filmed like 5 episodes for in an actual studio, the whole thing, like it was with an agency and whatever, they ended up fucking me over. But in the past, I started a few. I had Coffee and Confusion. What was the other? Clitigation. That was like an adult one. Whatever. I had Nudecast. But the problem with that is that if you don't know me and you're watching this and you're still here, hello. I have ADHD and I get very frustrated with not even just with podcasts, but with the idea of needing to have a niche. I just don't. I don't have one. My niche is me. I can't. And if I try to stick to one thing, it's not going to happen. If it's so regimented, I have a severe just inability to stick with it. And I've been reading a book called, I think it's The Art of Creativity by Rick Rubin, and he talks about how a creative person, sometimes we have these rules that we don't even really know where they came from, and it makes it hard to feel inspired, feel creative when you feel like, okay, for example, like, okay, I have to sit down and I have to record a 40-minute podcast, and it needs to be about this, and I'm going to cut out any of the filler stuff that doesn't really go with the topic. I could not do that. I couldn't stick to it. And so in challenging some of those rules, like I said, these podcasts, some of them are 10 minutes. I don't know, probably not. I would venture to say probably not, based on the fact that I can talk for 17 hours straight. And then, there's not going to be a set time. I'm going to start with the topic and I'm going to talk about whatever the topic is. And sometimes, maybe on a good day when there's not an Adderall shortage anymore, most of the episode will be about the topic. And other times, who knows? And giving myself this kind of freedom is ultimately what's going to make me stick to this. And selfishly, I want to have this podcast to be able to talk about whatever. And the thing is, it's not going to be a podcast about me. So maybe you noticed, I didn't even introduce myself. I didn't even say my name. Honestly, that was not intentional. I actually just kind of forgot, kind of thought I was filming a YouTube video. Hi, my name is Annalise, but I don't want this podcast to be about me. I want to talk about various things, and yes, my experiences are going to come into play for sure, and I'll talk about things going on in my life probably, definitely, but it's not like I needed to give myself the freedom to not have something like Instagram, YouTube, any of my other platforms where when my job is me, because I do OnlyFans, I do YouTube, I do Instagram, TikTok, all of those things. When my job is me, I phrase that in a weird way, and it's personal. It's not like I'm a painter and it's not really about showing my internal and external world. When that's your job and you're going through a really hard time in life, or even just if you're not feeling creative, whatever, it's so hard to be able to create content. I want to have something separate, which I do with writing, but let's be real, I love to talk. I think I'm funny. I also think I'm intelligent. No, I do think I'm intelligent. I'm not gonna be weird about that and not give myself the compliment. And I want to be able to, if I'm, something's going on in my life, come here. Well, it won't be here. It will be a proper studio. I need to not go into the British accent, because that's going to get annoying if I do actually keep doing that. And pull out a random topic and talk about it, I hope that made sense. Sort of an ADHD friendly podcast. And if you are into that, you're into that, and if you're not, you're not. And that's also a cool thing about this podcast, is that there's not going to be any pressure. This isn't going to be my source of income. It's really just another way for me to express myself, connect with people if they choose to listen or watch. This is shaking and making a really weird sound, so we're gonna move this. I mean, it is balancing on a pillow, so I hope I'm not like just hunchback this entire episode, but I'm a little bit worried about the mic situation. So, let's see. I made like some notes because I wanted to, remember to actually explain. I'm sure I'll have guests on at some point also. For the beginning, it's for sure just gonna be me. I need a space to like brain dump and just have it be okay, And if 7 people watch this or download it, you can listen on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of the things. I wrote down to tell a story about the telephone game. I wanted originally this podcast just to be called like Tangents or maybe Tangent Tuesday or something. But the concept of the game telephone that you play when you're little and me like starting with one topic and seeing where I end up just seemed to really go together well. And so I was like, that kind of makes sense. But I have such a strong memory of being probably 6 years old at like a church activity. It wasn't on Sunday. It was like a random day of the week with like other kids. And we were playing telephone. And the word started as Jesus. And then I was the last person at the end of the line. And the word ended up being cheese. But I swear that's what the kid next to me said. Like, I didn't just pull that out of my butt. It was cheese. So it went from Jesus to cheese. And for some reason, I've always remembered that. The thing that I wanted this to be is you don't have to know shit about me in order to listen or watch and enjoy it. Each episode, I hope I'm making sense. But I'm also probably over-explaining myself, which is another thing with ADHD and also trauma. Anyway, to be honest, I had to get glam like 3 days of this last week, and I wanted to do a podcast on one of those days, but here I am looking like a little boy, my little tank top. Who cares? So let me reach into my little phone booth that is not a cardboard box that I painted pink and cut a door out of. Like, this isn't what a phone booth looks like. I tried to order one. It's either this big or it's full size. I don't know, but someone out there, there's a lot of white space in the phone booth area. We need some mid-size. Okay, let me reach in here. There's a lot of things in here. Ow, oh my gosh, I just gave myself a cardboard paper cut. Words that let me finish reading it first. See? Words that people use wrong. This is funny because he put this in there because I was talking to him about this the other day. Because he used a word wrong. And I was like, that's not what that word means. He was like, what are you talking about? So this is actually a good one to start with because I made a note on my phone that day and I kept adding to it of like when I would hear someone use a word wrong or see someone using a word wrong, and I would add it to my list, which I will pull up on my computer actually. So for the sake of this being the first episode, this is words people use wrong, and this is where we're starting. So in a regular episode, I would say hi, what's up, hey, what's up, hello, if I were Fetty Wap also, and I'm just going to reach into the thing and start, but I just took a few minutes to say hi. I need to not look at the camera because I think that some people aren't listening to it like a podcast, and they can just see that I was just making peace signs for a weird amount of time for really no reason. So here's my list of words that people use wrong. Resonate. I think this is a good list, by the way, because it's not the typical like words you're probably using wrong or spelling wrong, and it's not that. This is like, I think, and I'm hoping that you will learn something from this, because I just have a weird thing with words and spelling, and it's like the one of the two things I'm good at in life. So I'm hoping that you'll learn something from this. So resonate. I always hear people say, I resonate with blah, blah, blah. I really resonate with that. Say it's like an Instagram post caption and someone comments on it, wow, I really resonate with this. That is incorrect, sir, ma'am. You have to say, this post resonates with me. You cannot resonate with something. You're not resonate. Like, that makes me think of you like vibrating, which, like, go see a doctor if you are physically resonating. Do you know what I mean? You put whatever it is that you're relating to, that you feel in your soul, that resonates with me. That story you just shared really resonated with me because I went through this XYZ. Not, I really resonate with your story. That makes me just like mentally picture someone like vibrating next to someone while they're telling a story. So let's just get that straight and don't get it twisted. And don't. Okay, I need to move on down this list. Peruse. People probably know this one now, but to peruse, it actually means, it's usually speaking about reading through something, but like to read thoroughly and with great care. Let's see, I think I like looked at some definitions. To read something in a thorough or careful way, to examine carefully or at length, with great care and details, to scrutinize, to examine or consider with attention and in detail. So you're really like looking at details. I feel like people will be like, I'm gonna go peruse the aisles of the store, or I'm just perusing, you know, and that quite literally is the opposite of what it means, which is weird because it sounds like a normal thing to say, right? It doesn't mean to just skim through if you're reading, or look through, or to like browse. It means the opposite. So I'm not really sure how that got switched like that, but there's actually another word in here that's similar to that. Don't just be like, I'm just gonna go peruse down the aisles and wait for you, you know, because I have nothing to do, because that's not what you're planning on doing unless you're planning on reading all of the nutritional facts on every box of cereal, you know, like that's not what that means. Okay. Next, I put anyways. I always hear people saying anyways. You can argue that it's like colloquial, but anyway is an adverb and you can't put an S at the end of an adverb. So it's just like point blank period. It's impossible for an adverb to be plural. Okay? Anyway. Don't say anyways. Say what you want, but you're wrong if you say it. This one's kind of dumb. I mean, it's accurate, but based off of, that's incorrect. Like, based off of this data, I think we should do this. That is incorrect. It's based on. Just based on. Based on this data. Why are people saying based off of? First of all, it's kind of hard to say. Based off of. Based off of. No, it's based on. What does based off of mean? Like, really think about that. Oh, this is a huge one that I could do an entire episode on. And I've been hearing it so much recently. Trauma bond. Please, for the love of God, stop saying, oh my gosh, I met this girl and me and her just trauma bonded over XYZ. Or we became friends because we trauma bonded, you know, we went through the same thing together. Something extreme happening where you're with someone and then afterwards you're like, we stayed friends because we just trauma bonded. It's not when you're with someone talking about upsetting things or even traumatic things. That's not what a trauma bond is. A trauma bond is in a relationship that is emotionally abusive and there's typically a codependent person and a narcissist. It can be other things, but that's most of the time what it is. And there is a trauma bond because of all of the emotional abuse and the ups and downs and the oxytocin it's just like all of the hormones peaking and literally going like up, down, up, down, up, down. That creates a trauma bond. And then like even if you break up with someone, for a lot of people in that situation, there's still like a trauma bond, and it's really hard to get over them, or it's really hard to leave the relationship even if someone's beating you up, you know. I barely scratched the surface of what a trauma bond actually is, but I hope you can't hear my cat licking her toes right now, because she is doing that. It's not, when people say they trauma bonded, like it's an activity, it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. I'm like, that is not what it is. Next, I wrote down utilize. So a lot of people use the word utilize incorrectly. It is a word, but I want to say like every time I hear someone use the word utilize, they're using it incorrectly. So when you want to use the word utilize, it has to be when you are using something for a reason that is not its intended purpose, right? Does that make sense? For example, if I'm using a tissue box as a camera tripod, if I'm putting my camera on it, I could say I'm utilizing my tissue box as a tripod, because it's not actually a tripod. I'm utilizing it as that. But if someone's asking me, you know, what I'm using to cook a grilled cheese in, I'm going to say, oh, I'm using a frying pan. I'm not going to say I'm utilizing a frying pan. I would utilize a frying pan as a weapon, maybe. But does that make sense? Like, I feel like people say utilize because it just like sounds more advanced and more, I don't know, it sounds like it's a bigger word than use. But if you're utilizing something, it's outside of the realm of what the object is supposed to be used for. I hope that made sense. Like, I'm using a pencil to write my name versus I am utilizing a pencil to scratch my lower back because it itches. I think that made sense. I'm not quite sure. Of course, you can replace utilize with use, but not the other way around. Like, I could still say I'm using my tissue box as a tripod. The fact that like these are all things that I've noticed in the past, I don't know, 6 days is a little bit wild. Okay, my cat is now licking herself. I'm gonna be really mad if like the audio on this is just so bad because the mic was not right. It's the first episode. It's fine. We're working the kinks out, okay? Next, we have momentarily. Now, this one makes me mad, and people 99% of the time are using it wrong. Momentarily means for a short period of time, but people use it to mean like in a short period of time or in a while. So, oh, when is Sandra coming over? And then you're like, oh, she should be here momentarily. What you're really saying, if you take the actual meaning of momentarily, is she's going to be here at some point. I don't know, because you didn't answer my question. And then she's only going to be here for like a couple minutes and she's going to leave. Does that make sense? Oh, the pizza will be here momentarily. What? Where's it going to go after a moment? It doesn't mean like in a while or in a quick second, in a minute, in a moment. It means that's a better way of describing it. God damn. It means like for a moment. If you're asking when a pizza is going to be there and you're like, oh, it should be here momentarily, you're not answering the question correctly. But if you say in a moment or in a minute, that's correct. Okay? The next one is pretty simple, but it's like IT''s. When people use it's followed by a plural word. I don't know why. I just had a moment where I was like, is this podcast just like a lecture? It's not, I swear. It's just this episode, man. The topic I pulled was telling me words people use wrong. But if someone uses it's, which obviously means it's a contraction, but they should be saying it has, that pisses me off, dude. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. How have things been, since you moved? And you're like, I'm not gonna lie, it's been hard. You're saying I'm not gonna lie, it is been hard. It's been hard. No, it has been hard. The next one, this is actually the word that prompted this, is infamous. I've noticed this before, actually. Like, I've noticed people using this word, and I just sort of assumed that they were, like, shading someone or something. But I think that it's because people don't know what this word means sometimes. So people will use it in the way of very famous. Here's a perfect example. I was on a podcast about a month ago in Vegas, and the host introduced me, and he referred to me as the creator of the infamous OnlyFans Bible, which is just like a series of videos I did on YouTube teaching people how to optimize their OnlyFans revenue. And I was like, infamous? Excuse you? And he's like, well, it's like a lot of people knew about it. And I didn't like correct him further, but that's sort of when I realized, like, I don't think people know that infamous means something that's famous for a negative reason. So it could be super well known, but if it's infamous, it's not a good thing. Serial killers can be infamous. Things that got famous for a not so great reason are infamous. It's like famous for the wrong reasons. Do you know what I mean? Factoid. This pisses me off when I get an email in the morning and it's like, today's factoids, or like quick factoid. It does not mean just like quick little fact. Quick little, small little fact. It's a factoid. Just a little factoid. No. There's a dog barking very loudly. A factoid means a false fact. So, love that email. Like, I'm getting emails from companies that are like, here's some factoids that are so fun. But they're really trying to be like, here's some fun facts. But it's really like, here is a bunch of lies. Oh, I feel like I could do a whole episode about these. Resentment. I kind of want to end there because I'm starting to feel like this is a lecture. And I don't want this to be a lecture. But the thing about this, the thing that I pulled from can I just not use the word thing when I'm doing a freaking podcast? The paper that I pulled from the phone book today might be the only one in there, which is interesting, that like actually gave me a structure to follow, because I quite literally had a list on my phone. Should I pick another one just as like an example? What was the last concert you went to? I'm actually going to put that back in because I do want to do that. But do you know what I mean? Like, I could start talking about that and then end up God knows where. But this one, I feel like, might have actually been the worst one to pull for the first episode because it didn't really give you an accurate representation of what this podcast is going to be like and how things are going to go. But I guess that is the essence of this podcast in itself. And it's Tangent Telephone. And what did we land on? I mean, I kind of want to give myself a pat on the back because I kind of stuck with the topic the whole time. Although I will say I didn't finish the list of words because I got in my head about thinking that this was a lecture and I'm lecturing you. I guess we ended on lectures. That is such a horrible title. From words people are using wrong to lectures. Yeah, let me click on that podcast. Let's end with speaking about areolas. What does your areola look like? Is it big? Is it small? Is it pink? Is it brown? I have the world's tiniest areolas. I have my boobs done. And you would think, like, well, I guess they, like, stretched out a tiny bit. But no. I got small nipples, small areolas. You know? Anyway, let me know. Let me know what your areolas look like. And yeah, I guess this was the first episode. If all goes well with the audio, and it's gonna get better, I promise. Stick with me. Stay with me. And I'm sure I'll come up with a cool cute little sign off at some point. Maybe the whole podcast I'll just hold the phone up to my ear. No, I'm not gonna do that. But maybe I'll be like, from words that people use wrong to areolas. I'm Annalise. Oh, over and out. We'll figure that out. Bye.